The Judicial Watch lawsuit regarding the versus Hillary Clinton and regarding her use of private email server speaks to a much larger issue. While the United States government, the United States in general, both at the federal and local level, speaks about public access and transparency, all the way down from the federal government all the way down to the local level, city council level. They go to great lengths to conceal communications and government communications from the public. Local city councils even use private emails to conceal communication. So what we're seeing with Secretary Clinton's use of private emails to conceal government communications is common practice in the United States to keep government communications away from the Public Records Act. This is widespread, and the fact that Republicans are talking about outrage is very hypocritical. However, what we see is basically we're seeing this a great example of a duopoly between the Democrats and Republicans. They both do it, and then when they want to use it as a political weapon, they roll it out against one another. And this goes to the great anger against Hillary Clinton and her party, which is expressed by Senator Sanders and his supporters. Unfortunately, the Democratic machine has been able to use its internal mechanisms by way of the superdelegates in a rigged system to overcome Senator Sanders. And then on the Republican side, we see it with Donald Trump. He actually, basically instituted a hostile takeover and ran out the establishment there. How does all this tie back to the use of private emails? It is another example of a corrupt system in the United States, both politically and governmentally, that is designed to prevent change. Now, will Hillary Clinton be brought before a judge and answer questions? I predict no. I think that the judge wrote that just for purposes of writing a motion. We have seen motions regarding President Obama that have stated that he might have to testify and things of that nature, but it never, it's all for naught. Routinely, judges in the United States will write ear-tickling motions in preliminary motions and such. But I predict that this will basically fade away. Secretary Clinton, like her predecessors, Condoleezza Rice in the Bush administration and Colin Powell, who themselves used private emails to evade public records disclosure, and public officials at the federal level down to local city council who do the same thing, will never be held accountable. And despite this current American spring of the outsiders, it too will fade, and the American system will shift back after this American spring of 2016 back to the establishment. It'll swing back because the Americans have very limited retention span. They get very mad, and then they huff and they puff, and then they go back to their smartphones and their reality TV, and they do very little. So I predict that nothing will come of this, and what will happen is Secretary Clinton will be exonerated, more so on the part of the American public, who basically really isn't buying into this because they just can't understand the wider consequences of not having access to transparency in their government.